So, serious question. Who of you was able to resist sweets and all of the carbs and all of the chocolates over the holidays? Um, and I'm asking this with absolutely no judgment because I used to be able to not be able to. I used to not be able to resist anything. If there was a container, a jar, a bowl of candy or chocolates around the holidays, I could be in the other room, but after I would walked by it, I would still be thinking about it. And I'd be like, oh my God, I need that. I need that. I need that sugar. And I would have to go back and have one. And as soon as I had one, I would just have to have more and more and more. And I could not stop. Um, Now, the thing is my background is 25 years as a personal trainer, nutrition coach. I knew how to eat healthy. I ate very healthy. I did all the things that people would tell me to do. I would um, eat before I would go to whatever party or event that there was. At home, I tried to keep it out of my cupboards. I would drink water. I would make sure that I was trying to get all of the nutrients and everything that I needed from everything. And it still wasn't enough. And it's just when you get to that willpower where you cannot resist, you cannot slow down. When you're at Olive Garden and they have those bowls of bread and you just can't stop. Um, and you know that this is different and you're trying. You're like, okay, I'm going to have the Olive Garden salad and I'm going to keep eating that, but then you can't stop eating the bread. And there's a reason for this. So tell me if this is happening to you guys, if this happened over Christmas, if this just happens on the regular on shift where you could bring to work with you all of your food, but you're driving by fast food restaurants or you're driving by convenience stores and you need to stop and get a chocolate bar or a burger and fries or something because that craving, even though you have food beside you, that craving is so strong. So let me know if this is happening to you guys because I just want you to know that this is very common. We hear it all the time. As soon as people are coming into the program, they're like, how do I stop? How do I stop? This Christmas, this was our biggest question. And that's why I knew I had to come in here and explain to you guys why this is happening because this was probably one of our biggest questions the last few weeks in the program group. So, why does this happen? There's a couple of different reasons in your body, but they all are related to your stress management system. So, there's a couple of different ones. The first one we'll start talking about is your glucose. So, every time that your body is in a stressed state, when it is in a stressed state, it sends out cortisol, all of the epinephrine, adrenaline, all of your stress hormones, but also sends out glucose to give you fuel for that fight. Your body does not know the difference between putting on your uniform for a shift, driving into work and worrying about what the supervisor or somebody at work is going to be saying to you if you have admin struggles at work, which are very common. Um, your body doesn't know that or worrying about finances versus being on a hot priority call in a foot pursuit or on a fire or as EMS going into a building or sorry, into like a burning vehicle to get somebody out. These things where you physically need that glucose, your body doesn't know the difference between when you're just thinking or when you're physically doing. So you end up with all this glucose in your body and it's rushing in and then your body needs to clean it up. So it goes out and cleans up, out and cleans up. And over time, your brain's like, what the heck? Like, so your brain is saying, what the heck am I doing? This is ridiculous. I'm constantly sending this out and cleaning this up. Why don't we just slow this down a little bit? So you are supposed to have enough blood sugars stored in your body for 4 hours of just regular daily activities or 8 hours of sleep. So you may find that over time that you may eat, but then soon later you're hangry again. Your blood sugars are low. You need something. And your brain, it is just going to want you to do the path of least resistance. It knows it needs energy, and it knows that sugar and carbs are what are going to rush energy into it the fastest. Yes, that also means that sugar and carbs rush out the fastest. They're not long lasting, sustainable sources, but your brain isn't thinking about long term. Your brain is thinking about right now, you are in a blood sugar low, you need something. This is often as well why we wake up mid sleep. So if you find that you have crazy sugar cravings, carb cravings, and you're waking mid sleep, then quite often that's telling us that your blood sugar regulations are off due to stress. And your brain is not going to let your blood sugars run the way that they need to until you learn to support your stress system. Okay, so that is one reason why your sugar cravings happen. The other one is that you have two other parts to your stress system. So that part that we just talked about was the hormonal aspect. And your stress system manages 50 hormones. We just talked about two of them, your blood sugars and your stress hormone. But we'll get next into your nervous system and your digestion. So every time that you're also in that stress state, your nervous system kicks in. So your stress nervous system is kicking in. That's your sympathetic nervous system that puts you into that fight or flight state. When you are in a fight or flight state, it does what we just talked about, is pushes out the blood sugars into your body. But what it also does is it slows down your digestion. When you are in the middle of a hot priority call, you do not need to stop and have a poop or eat a big meal. So your body takes that energy that it would take to usually move your colon, which is why we get a lot of constipation issues too, is to move your colon. It slows down that, and it slows down your gut digestion and the acids that are coming out, that are being produced. Because you don't need to be having a meal, and it takes that energy and puts it towards the crisis, putting you into that stress state. And so with that, you have then these the stomach acids that are getting really, really low in your stomach. Now, I'm very curious as well, how many of you in here are on antacids, anything for indigestion, GERD, upset stomach, any gastro issues? How many of you are taking proton pump inhibitors prescribed by your doctor, or antacids because you feel that you have, or you've been told by your doctor that you have, it must be high acids in your stomach? I'm really curious. So comment in that below how many of you do, because the reason I ask, not one person that's come into our program, not one has tested high in stomach acids. And the majority of them have come in on proton pump inhibitors that decrease your stomach acid because of that indigestion feeling. And they've also come into, or they've been on antacids and different things themselves. Thing is I would be curious to ask, if your doctor put you on a proton pump inhibitor, did they do any testing? So the testing that I'm just going to tell you about right now is quick and simple. But if you are taking antacids and if you are on proton pump inhibitors, don't do it, because you're not going to get results, and it can actually mess up your proton pump inhibitors a little bit. But just do a quick Google search for baking soda challenge. Basically what you do is, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you have a certain amount of baking soda with a certain amount of water, you chug it, and time how long it takes you to have a really good burp. I'm going to bet that most of you aren't going to have a really good burp, or no burps at all. That tells us you don't have stomach acids, because the acids mix with that baking soda, and it will make you burp, have really good burps. So the thing is nobody in our program has tested positive on that for stomach acids. And the reason is that nervous system that we just talked about ends up shutting down the stomach acid production every time you're in that stress state. So let's think about this: 12-hour shifts, 24-hour shifts, 48 hours a lot of you are doing right now when you're doing doubles to be helping with the low manpower from COVID. We have all this overtime that's kicking in. All of these stresses, you're in this stress state for like 12-hour shifts over and over and over again. And so your stress system is kicking in, shutting down your stomach acids. And then what happens is when your stomach acids are low, your good bacteria can't survive. So you struggle to start breaking down food. You might get some diarrhea issues too, or more constipation. You get bloating. You get all kinds of symptoms of the gut. And a lot of this is due to the fact that bad bacteria love low stomach acids. That's when they thrive. So if you, when you're, sorry, so if you have been under long-term stress, you have these bad bacteria, and guess what they feed off of? Sugar and carbs. So when you're in stress for long periods of time, blood sugars get thrown off, your nervous system kicks in, shuts down your stomach acids in your gut, increases your bad bacteria, which thrive off of sugars and carbs, and they ask all the time for sugar and carbs. So until you get rid of those bad bacteria, and until you are able to get your stress system supported, and that being the hormones, the nervous system, and the gut, until you can get those supported, your blood sugars won't regulate. That no amount of willpower, none, no amount of willpower at all is going to get your body to stop craving sugar and carbs. You could diet till the cows come home. You will find as well, a lot of people will say things like, oh, just stop eating sugars. So keto. A lot of people find when they go on keto that a lot of their symptoms subside. And they do, because you've taken out the sugar, you're not feeding the bad bacteria. But you're missing a big key step there, is you haven't first figured out what the bacteria are. And then once you know what the bacteria are, you can go in and kill them all off. So going on keto, if you go on keto, paleo, where you're low carb, taking out all of the sugars, you may find that you start feeling better. And that's because you're not feeding these bacteria, so they're not upsetting things as much. But it's still not fixing the root of the problem, which is getting rid of the bad bacteria. There's all different kinds. So we need to actually go in and find out, because I could just right now say, oh, try this. But if you have another type of bacteria, it's not going to work. So that's why we definitely make sure in our program, we test to make sure first we figure out which test to even give you based on symptoms you have. Because there's a couple of different tests based on different pathogens, bacteria, viruses, all kinds of things that could be going on in your gut. And that's what would help us decide on which test to be taking. Once you take those tests, the results that come back of which bacteria, pathogens, viruses, things that are in you, that's then when we go in and bring out the cavalry and attack them. So that is where we would go in, and we would, while we're in that moment, have you stop eating all forms of sugar. So we're not feeding them, and then we can kill them and get rid of them faster. It's not a forever diet. It's just in the means while we're repairing your gut and getting rid of those. But until we do that, you are never, ever going to get rid of those sugar and carb cravings. So I just want you to know it's not your fault. There's 100% a reason why it's happening to you. And I'm going to say that the majority of the people that are in our program as well, when once they start reading all of the stuff on the gut, the digestion, all of that, all of these pieces start falling in place, and they start realizing why they had the sugar cravings, why they were needing to live off of coffee and caffeine, why no willpower, why they have that weight around the middle. All of these different things are all related to this blood sugar roller coaster and between your nervous system shutting down the gut. Okay, any questions? Let us know. I will post in here too our private message link, so that if you guys would like to ask questions privately instead of in the comments, you absolutely can, and we will answer them for you. But just know, if you really did struggle over Christmas, if you struggled over the holidays, if you struggle on a day-to-day basis on every single shift with those carb cravings, it's not your fault. It's just that your body, you have been living and supporting your stress system the way that a civilian does. And that's not going to work for 12, 24-hour shifts. All of these things are not going to work with just the day-to-day stressors of your job. So we need to go in and just support it and get it stronger and do what you need to do so that we are actually treating you like a first responder. Your stress system, to the taxes of first responder versus that of a civilian. And once we do that, get in, fix everything up, then you're good to go again. So it's not that you're broken, and it's not that these things are your fault. It's the fact that you have been implementing all the tools that you work for a civilian and they don't work for a first responder. So ask us your questions, put them in the comments. I will put that link right now as soon as I stop so that you can private message us if you want to keep it off, keep it away from other people's eyes. And we are here to answer all your questions.